You close your eyes on an overnight flight, shift positions for hours, wake up every time an announcement comes on,
Good evening, dear guests.
and somehow land feeling more exhausted than when you boarded. Your vacation or business trip hasn't even started, but it already feels like you've lost the first day. Flight attendants see this happen on almost every overnight flight. After watching thousands of passengers over the years, they've noticed that the people who arrive feeling refreshed aren't just lucky. They simply follow a few habits that most travelers never think about. So I went through flight attendant interviews, airline guidance, and aviation research to uncover the 17 practical tricks experienced crew actually trust themselves. No travel myths, no expensive gadgets, just simple habits that can make a real difference on your next overnight flight. Before we get started, I'm curious. On your last overnight flight, did you actually sleep? Or did you just close your eyes and hope for the best? Let me know by commenting yes or barely below. Most people think overnight flights become difficult somewhere over the ocean. Flight attendants know the biggest mistakes usually happen before the aircraft even leaves the gate. So let's start there. Number 17. Never board already exhausted. Most passengers treat the overnight flight like a reset button. A rough travel day, early wake-up, rushed connections, stress at security, and then they drop into the seat expecting sleep to arrive naturally once the lights dim. It almost never works that way. A body that's been running on adrenaline for 12 hours doesn't quietly switch to rest at altitude. It stays wired. The cabin noise that wouldn't bother a rested person becomes unbearable. Every announcement pulls you back. And for senior travelers especially, physical fatigue from prolonged standing and heavy bags doesn't disappear once seated. It shows up hours later as restlessness and shallow sleep that leaves you more depleted than before boarding. Flight attendants prepare for overnight routes the way they prepare for anything that actually matters. The pre-flight day is already part of the flight. The fix. Keep the hours before boarding calm and light. Arrive at the gate settled, not just barely on time. Once that's right, the next step happens before the boarding door even closes. Number 16. Build your seat before takeoff. Picture the moment. Lights dim, meal service ends, and you realize the neck pillow is in the overhead bin. The glasses are buried in the roller bag, and the phone charger is at the very bottom of the backpack. Now you're climbing over a sleeping seatmate at 11 at night, disturbing 2 rows, and by the time everything is sorted, the best part of the sleep window is already gone. Flight attendants set up before the door closes. Water, glasses, medication, neck pillow, headphones, light layer, passport, all accessible before takeoff. Once the overnight begins, the overhead bin stays shut. There's a 20-minute window after boarding where the entire night can be organized. Most passengers spend it on their phones. Experienced crew spend it preparing. The fix. Use those 20 minutes after boarding to arrange everything within reach. Once the lights go down, setup should already be complete. Your seat is ready. Now your body clock needs resetting too. Number 15. Switch to destination time immediately. Most passengers keep their watch on home time for as long as possible. The familiar numbers feel grounding, especially when everything else about the journey feels unfamiliar. But staying on home time through a long flight is like asking the body to run 2 clocks at once, and it fails both. The body follows cues. Light, meals, movement, and sleep all send signals about what time it is and what should be happening. The sooner those cues shift toward destination time, the sooner the nervous system begins cooperating with where the flight is going rather than where it just left. Flight attendants change their clocks the moment they board, not at landing, not mid-ocean, the moment they sit down. That one small act changes every decision that follows. When to eat, when to rest, when to avoid caffeine, when to stay awake. The fix. The moment you settle in, change every visible clock to destination time. Let that number guide every choice for the rest of the flight. Clock set. Now the meal cart is about to make or break the night. Number 14. Eat like you're landing, not like you're flying. The meal cart arrives on the airline's schedule, which has almost nothing to do with your bodies. It rolls out when service allows, regardless of whether that timing aligns with anyone's digestion or sleep window. Harvard Medical School research on meal timing and circadian rhythm found that eating at the wrong biological hour sends powerful signals to the body's internal clock, sometimes stronger than light exposure, actively delaying sleep onset and disrupting recovery. Experienced crew, ask one question before touching the tray. What time will it be at my destination when this food reaches my stomach? If the answer is the middle of the night there, a light option or skipping entirely serves them far better than a full plate. The meal cart will always feel like an invitation. It doesn't always have to be accepted. The fix. Before the cart reaches you, think arrival time, not flight time. Eat toward where you're going, not where you started. So far, everything happens in the first hour. The next few are what most passengers skip entirely, and they quietly cause the most damage. Number 13. Drink before you feel thirsty. Thirst at cruising altitude arrives late. By the time the mouth feels dry, the body is already significantly behind. Cabin humidity on most commercial aircraft sits between 10 and 20%, far lower than almost any indoor environment on the ground. The Aerospace Medical Association has documented how this level of dryness directly affects sleep quality, alertness during the flight, and how passengers feel at customs, not just in-flight comfort. Most passengers wait for the drink cart, take one cup, and go back to their screen. They wake up stiff and headachy after what felt like a complete night's rest and wonder why. Dehydration at altitude doesn't just make you thirsty. It affects how deeply you sleep, how clearly you think at immigration, and how quickly the body recovers after landing. The fix. Bring a full water bottle on board and sip steadily from the moment you sit down. Small, consistent amounts work far better than trying to catch up later. Hydration handled. Now the one nobody thinks about until the phone dies at immigration. Number 12. Never let your phone battery become an emergency. 30% battery after an overnight flight feels fine. Until landing. Then the phone becomes the boarding pass for the connection, the hotel confirmation, the rideshare app, the navigation to an unfamiliar address, the translation tool at immigration, and the call to family, all within the first 30 minutes on the ground. One unexpected complication, a delayed transfer, a wrong terminal, a missing bag, and that 30% disappears before reaching the taxi stand. Flight attendants who travel internationally land with a charged phone, not a well-intentioned, half-charged one. The phone isn't entertainment on an international overnight flight. After landing, it becomes the tool that handles every problem that can arise in the first 2 hours on the ground. Running it down through the night is one of the quietest ways to make a difficult arrival worse. The fix. Charge actively throughout the flight, not just at the start. Land with enough battery to handle a bad day. Not just a smooth one. And now, the mindset shift that might matter more than any single item on this list. Number 11. Don't chase perfect sleep. 8 uninterrupted hours at 35,000 feet is not a realistic target. For most passengers on most overnight routes, it never was. The National Sleep Foundation explains that aircraft cabins are fragmented sleep environments, ones that push passengers through lighter sleep stages more frequently, rarely reaching the deeper cycles that produce genuine restoration. Expecting otherwise doesn't just set the wrong goal. It creates anxiety that actively blocks whatever rest is actually available. Flight attendants don't aim for perfect on overnight routes. They aim for enough. 2 or 3 solid hours, with light dozing between them, lands them in functional condition at arrival. The mindset shift matters more than the actual hours. A relaxed traveler who accepted 2 good hours will arrive in better shape than a tense one who chased 8 and spent the whole night frustrated that sleep kept slipping away. The fix. Before the lights dim, lower the target deliberately. Enough rest to handle arrival well is the real goal, not a perfect night. Number 10. Create your own sleep bubble. Waiting for the cabin to become quiet is one of the most common overnight mistakes because the cabin doesn't become quiet. Engine noise runs constantly. A screen 2 rows forward casts light across the aisle. A crew member passes through. An announcement cuts in exactly when sleep was finally settling. Passengers who wait for the environment to settle usually wait the entire flight. Experienced crew create their own environment instead of hoping for one. Eye mask, earplugs or noise-canceling headphones. A warm layer already in place, neck support positioned before lying back. And one detail most passengers never think about: seatbelt worn visibly over the blanket, so a crew member doing safety checks doesn't need to wake them to confirm it's fastened. One less interruption across an entire night. The sleep bubble takes under 2 minutes to set up, but the difference between building it and skipping it is often the difference between 2 solid hours and none at all. The fix: build the sleep bubble right after meal service ends. Eye mask, audio running, seatbelt visible. Don't wait until tired. Make your own quiet. If this is useful, and the next 7 cover what most travelers never think about until something goes wrong, subscribe right now. 2 seconds. We're only halfway through. The first 10 are about the sleep window. What follows protects your body and your arrival. Number 9. Wear shoes you can land in. Feet swell on long overnight flights. It's predictable, physiological, and it happens to most passengers on most long-haul routes. Reduced movement, fixed sitting, and lower cabin pressure cause fluid to settle in the lower legs and feet over several hours. Shoes that fit perfectly at departure can feel noticeably tighter by the time the cabin lights come back on. Some passengers remove their shoes mid-flight and struggle to get them back on comfortably at arrival. They walk through immigration in real pain before the trip has even properly started. Flight attendants who work long-haul routes consistently wear comfortable shoes to the airport and keep them on. One additional note: compression socks help with swelling and circulation, but only if you've worn them before and know how your body responds. Never try them for the first time on a long overnight flight. The fix: wear shoes you can walk in comfortably after swelling. Save the tighter footwear for after arrival and rest. Number 8. Keep your warm layer beside you. Overnight flights get cold, not at boarding, but somewhere in the middle of the night when the cabin settles and the temperature drops without any announcement. The passenger who packed their hoodie in the overhead bin is now awake at 2 in the morning, weighing whether it's worth the disruption to retrieve it. Usually they decide it isn't. They spend the next 3 hours slightly too cold to sleep properly. Shoulders tense, rest shallow, waking more frequently than before. This isn't just a comfort issue. Cold activates the nervous system's alertness response. Warmth supports the shift into rest. A flight that starts comfortable but turns cold mid-night can quietly undermine hours of carefully built sleep without the passenger ever realizing what changed. The fix: keep a light layer, hoodie, cardigan, or soft scarf within arm's reach before takeoff, not in the overhead bin. When the cabin cools, it goes on without waking anyone. One of the simplest habits on this list. Almost nobody follows it. Number 7. Move before your body complains. Stiffness on long overnight flights builds gradually and announces itself long after the damage is already done. By the time the legs feel heavy and the lower back aches, the body has been still far too long. The CDC has specifically documented the relationship between prolonged cabin immobility and deep vein thrombosis, noting that flights over 4 hours increase risk, particularly for older travelers and those with existing circulation concerns. Staying completely still on a long overnight flight isn't just uncomfortable. For some passengers, it carries genuine health implications. Flight attendants move naturally through their work. During rest, they still shift position and flex their ankles before the body starts to complain, not after. The goal is prevention, not recovery. The fix: every 90 minutes, walk the aisle or do ankle circles and calf raises in the seat. Move before the body asks, not after it demands. Body moving, now one that wastes more time than any delay. And it's completely predictable. Number 6. Avoid the bathroom rush. 2 rushes happen on every overnight flight like clockwork, right after the meal carts clear and 30 minutes before landing when the entire cabin wakes up at once. Both are completely avoidable with a small amount of planning. A passenger who visits the lavatory just before the trays are collected, and again about an hour before descent, finds an empty aisle both times. Everyone else stands in a narrow corridor while the cabin shifts beneath them and the clock runs. For a senior traveler who moves more carefully through a moving aisle, that wait isn't just inconvenient. It's physically draining at the end of a long night, and navigating a crowded, narrow space while tired and stiff is one of the quieter ways overnight flights add strain that carries straight into the arrival day. The fix. Time lavatory visits just ahead of the two predictable rushes. A 15-minute shift turns a 10-minute wait into a 30-second walk. Getting close to the final stretch now, and the last 5 are where most overnight flights either get protected or quietly fall apart. Number 5. Don't watch just one more movie. The entertainment system on an overnight flight is one of its most comfortable traps. Seat reclined, cabin dim, nothing that needs doing. And the next film loads automatically. A passenger who planned to sleep at 10 finds themselves finishing credits at midnight, not quite tired enough, realizing descent begins in 4 hours. The sleep window closed while the screen was still running. Screen light suppresses the natural signals the body sends to prepare for rest. 30 minutes without a screen before attempting sleep makes a real, practical difference. Not a theory flight crew discuss, but a habit they consistently use on their own overnight routes. This isn't about the movie itself. It's about what the absence of the screen lets the brain begin doing in the 30 minutes before rest. The fix. Set a firm stopping point for entertainment and treat it as a real decision, not a negotiation. Screen off. Eye mask on. The sleep window doesn't wait. Number 4. Never test a new sleep aid in the air. Melatonin, over-the-counter sleep tablets, herbal supplements. Everyone affects people differently, and nobody reliably knows how their body responds until they've actually tried it before. The Mayo Clinic notes that melatonin can interact with blood thinners, blood pressure medication, and diabetes medication, all commonly used by older travelers. A reaction that feels minor and manageable at home becomes harder to handle at altitude, where there's no medical support, no way to adjust the dosage, and nowhere to go if something feels wrong. Experienced crew are consistent about this. Never experiment with something new in the air. It's not that supplements are dangerous. It's that an unknown reaction at 35,000 feet over the ocean is not the right moment to find out how your body responds to something for the first time. The fix. Test any sleep aid at home on a night that doesn't matter. Bring it on a flight only once you know exactly how your body reacts and how long the effect lasts. Landing prep begins now, and this next one saves the most stress in the final hour. Number 3. Split your landing essentials. The descent announcement comes. The cabin brightens, and everyone is suddenly reaching into bags, pulling out documents, searching for glasses, hunting for the customs pen that was definitely packed somewhere. That moment of searching is entirely preventable. Experienced crew separate landing essentials before the sleep window begins. Not at descent, not at the announcement. Passport, medication, glasses, customs pen, power bank go into one outer pocket or small pouch before the lights dim. When the announcement comes, there's nothing to find. It's already waiting. For a traveler managing multiple medications, a connecting flight, or a busy international customs line, this 2-minute habit before sleep protects the entire arrival experience. The things that matter most should always be the easiest to reach. The fix. Before the overnight portion begins, move 5 or 6 critical items into one accessible outer pocket. No searching at the worst possible moment. Number 2. Start landing before the announcement. The descent announcement gives passengers 20 minutes to prepare. Most assume that's enough. Usually it isn't. Experienced crew begin arrival preparation about an hour before expected descent. Water, a short walk if the seatbelt sign allows, lavatory before the rush forms, belongings organized, and a quiet mental shift from sleep mode to alert. By the time the announcement plays, they're already composed. Most passengers sleep as long as possible, wake at the announcement, and rush through everything at once, stepping off the plane still half in sleep mode, navigating immigration and ground transport in a fog that lingers for hours. For a senior traveler managing medication timing or a tight connection, arriving already alert versus still waking up makes a significant practical difference in how the rest of the day unfolds. The fix. About an hour before descent. Water, stretch, lavatory, documents organized. Arrive at the gate prepared, not still catching up. And now, number 1. The shift that changes how the entire overnight flight feels from the moment of boarding. Number 1. Protect your first day, not just your flight. Here is the mindset flight attendants carry that most passengers never consider. A good overnight flight isn't measured by how much you slept, it's measured by how you feel walking out of the airport. Passengers evaluate the flight while still on the plane. Hours slept, how comfortable the seat was, whether the entertainment was good. None of that is the real measure. The real measure is whether the first day at the destination feels like an arrival or a recovery. Every decision experienced crew make on an overnight flight, when to eat, when to rest, when to put the screen down, when to move, is made with the first morning at the destination already in mind. The flight is not the event. The flight is the preparation for the event. That one reframe changes how every decision on board feels. Not, should I watch one more? But, will I wish I had slept when tomorrow morning arrives? Not, should I take the full meal? But, what does my body need to land ready? The travelers who walk off overnight flights looking calm and ready aren't lucky. They decided what they wanted their arrival to feel like before they ever boarded, and let every small decision on the flight serve that answer. The fix. Before boarding, ask yourself what you want your first day to feel like. Then, let every single decision on the flight serve that answer. Now I'm curious. Which one of these surprised you the most? Tell me in the comments. I'd love to know. And if you want your next trip to feel smoother, calmer, and more in control, make sure you subscribe. Because stress at the airport doesn't come from travel. It comes from not knowing what's really happening.